Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, hi, I'm Bree. I garden in Kansas Zone 7, and today we're gonna walk around. We're just gonna kind of talk about the garden. We're gonna harvest a handful of things. As the year goes, it's been a very behind year. I really feel like the garden almost feels like early August right now. Like, I don't have a lot of things that are dead. We didn't get significantly hot this summer. We only had one day that was over 100, I believe, when that is not the normal. We've just been very rainy, really cool, and that has continued. I'm wearing a sweater this morning because it's only 58 degrees, and we've just been having rain all week. So I really feel like our first frost this year will probably be early, kind of like last year. But if that's the case, I still think I'm gonna get some tomatoes. Tomatoes actually set a lot over the last few weeks, and same with the loofahs. Those things have really surprised me, and so I'm really hoping we have a little bit of time. Our first average frost is typically around mid-October. They say it can happen as early as late September, but honestly, I've gardened for 8 years and that is yet to happen. But there's been a lot of things this year that have never happened in my 8 years gardening, so it might be one of those years where we're finding out as we go. But I want to walk around, talk to you guys about some of the new varieties I tried this year and what I think of them, even though I don't think this is a good year to really give my full opinion. I don't really have any harsh opinions on some things. I can keep chatting, but let's just jump in. The pumpkin trellis obviously is the show over here. I have harvested, I want to say 3 pumpkins, and I think I have 4 or 5 on there at the moment. It's starting to crawl onto the other trellis. I ended up ripping out a handful of plants yesterday over here, but I'm really shocked I'm even getting corn, guys. So this corn's been really interesting. It got hit with caterpillars hard, and I really thought I wasn't going to get any type of corn, but I left the plants anyway just to see what would happen, and I am starting to get corn. These plants definitely do not look that great. Last year was amazing. First successful year growing corn. I don't know how this year is going to go. And that is just the mystery of the year. As I was kind of saying, we're in that last 4 to 8-ish weeks before our first frost. In my time frame of gardening, most of our frosts have been more toward late October, that 3rd, 4th week. Last year we had an earlier one. I want to say it was the 2nd week of October. They do say that we can get frost as early as late September. So yeah, we're in that last 4 to 8 weeks. So that means anything that has currently set, we should probably get something. I'm not sure about some of these little cantaloupes. Just started to put on a ton of flowers. Like I said, everything is just off this year, and I feel like it's just been cooler in general. So I really have the thought that we're going to be early with frost. One of the things this year that was really interesting to me was the zinnias. I had this one variety of zinnia this year called Cinderella, and I was really excited about it. And then it gave me the most wonky results that I have ever gotten from growing a flower. So I have 4 different ones. They all look different. These 2 are literally from the same seed packet and no different soil amendments, same sunlight, same everything. This one is double the height and completely different colors. So this one was a really soft purple pastel color, very tiny flowers. These are all supposed to be just fluffy looking zinnias, and I don't know if I got a fluffy looking zinnia at all, to be honest. I thought these were kind of pretty, but they were still really dark in color. I really liked this orange one and how it kind of faded to a pink in the middle there, but didn't look like the seed packet. And then I have another one over here that is just a very pink version of this, but then we have this one. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I absolutely love this one because look at all the different colors on it. You have a little bit deep yellow, you have this beautiful peach, you have the really pretty light purple pastel pinks, and this zinnia plant is just gorgeous. It's so full, it's been so pretty. I'm definitely saving some seeds from this guy, but wow, I really love this one, and I hated the other 3 I planted. It's been so interesting, and now I don't know, because I really kind of ruled out planting it again, but I think I'll save some of these seeds and I'll plant out more of this because I love all the different tones. I love how you get the purples and the yellows. That is just so unique and so pretty. I want to say I mentioned this in the August garden tour, but one of the varieties that's done really well for me this year is the Elsa yellow bell pepper. I don't have currently any on there, but I have harvested a really good amount. I want to say I have some other bell peppers over there ready to be harvested, but I have a handful of snacking peppers over here. Oh my gosh, wow. That is such a deep orange color. That is beautiful. That I was gonna grab really quickly. Do you guys remember the bright light cosmos I grew last year? So this has been growing up in the little crack where my shed is, and there's also a few others throughout the property, but I really loved this variety. It put on a show all season long. My cosmos this year already conked out, but I planted a variety called apricota this year, which I also loved, and I think these will be really pretty together. So I might end up planting both of them next year. Pumpkins have been one of my favorite things this year. So this is a variety called the Long Island Cheese Pumpkin. You have probably heard me say countless times this year, but this is a vine borer resistant variety. Both this, oh gosh, and the honey nut that I grow are both vine borer resistant. They are not squash bug resistant though. These just hatched. Oh my gosh, they were hatching. I caught that so well. I was literally just about to say that I really feel like the squash bugs have slowed down. I really haven't found as many as I was finding in August. I mean, they should be slowed down at this point. I have been on top of these plants, but I will say they've been beautiful and they've worked so well for me. I have never got this much pumpkin, nor have I ever been this successful with pumpkin. This will be a variety that I continue to grow for sure. I've really loved it. I haven't had much issues when it comes to disease or anything like that, especially with how wet of a season we have had. I've been really impressed with how this plant has handled it. And honestly, they've just been doing great. So I will definitely be growing this again. I'm so excited, you guys. Let me show you how huge this one pumpkin is. So this one here will probably end up being one of the biggest ones for the year. This one's getting really, really big. The other one I had was pretty big, but I feel like this one is definitely looking bigger, especially because it's gonna still have time to grow. But I have this one over here that is definitely started to change color. They will get darker than this. This one is also starting to change color. This one is also very big. And then we have this little guy over here, and then we have a few others on a few of the other trellises. Yesterday morning, I randomly decided that all of this dead, icky melon situation needed to go away, and some of the squash also got pulled up. So I had my honey nut right here. Now it's all pumpkin. So the pumpkin is also starting to go over to the cantaloupe tube. That is 2 plants. I have one on each side of that middle trellis there. I originally planted 4, and I was like, that was probably the dumbest thing I've ever done. So I pulled up 2 and I left 2. And I will say this thing is just filled out like crazy. So I ended up cutting down my big sunflower not too long ago. It was like this week sometime. And then I got some of the older squash. I want to say there's still one squash. Yeah, there's one squash still going strong, but all the other ones died back. I got a good amount of honey nuts over the last month though. But we have another pumpkin right there. And as you can see, this plant just keeps going. So I originally thought I planted some more cantaloupe over here. I don't know if I had a random batch of compost and had melons sprout, or if I had random honeydew that came back from last year. I had these weird crosses of melons, and obviously this one stuck through the fence. The chickens enjoyed them, but they were just these really weird melons. They got hit with a ton of cucumber beetles, even though my cantaloupe and everything is fine. So I don't know what they were. I was really hoping to have extra cantaloupe, and that was not the case for those. So I probably just need to cut this and give it over to the chickens. But as you can see, I have lots of peppers. There's lots of cayennes I need to get, lots of serranos I need to get. Here's one of the pretty zinnias. I planted another batch of zinnias, and this is the ballerina that's been blooming lately. It's really, really pretty. All right. Oh, this one still had a little bit of green to it, but Cubo orange, I want to say. that bell is called. And then this is a really tiny Elsa, but an Elsa of the bells. I want to say this other one I have over here is reds that are about to form. I have some red ones over here. I can't remember the red variety I ended up growing. Honestly, one of my best pepper years I've ever had. These serranos are still putting on so many peppers, and the amount of peppers I have gotten so far this year has just been insane. Literally, amongst all of my peppers have done so well this year. I'm at the point now where I might do a few more batches of sriracha, maybe do a few more rounds of drying, but I'm probably gonna start giving away some peppers because I really don't need to preserve anymore. I have pickled them, I've put some in the freezer, I have made plenty of hot sauce, I freeze dried a bunch, I've dehydrated a bunch. I don't know what else I can really do with them. I will say if you're looking for a cayenne variety that's easy to work with and prepare, look no further than this red ember. It's a pepper I was looking for years. It has a little bit thicker of a skin. And if you're trying to de-seed it to make cayenne powder or something, it's really easy to slit and the skin not be so thin where it ends up just ripping in your hands and stuff. And they're a bigger cayenne, like the one I just picked, as big as my hand. They are a hefty pepper and they have really good flavor. I actually think I'm gonna hold off on harvesting anything else for now just because the plants are so wet. And honestly, I don't want my hands to just be wet. I wasn't planning on getting to all of this morning anyway, but cayennes look absolutely beautiful. And then here's all of our bells. So I did find a hornworm over here that was after these tomatoes. Pretty decent size hornworm. I went around and I could not find any other hornworms. I know there has to be some, but I typically don't have too much of an issue. These are the Inca Jewels. These are the ones I grew last year for the first time ever, and I was very impressed with this variety. So they have put on so much fruit and they look absolutely beautiful. Way better than any of the plants I bought from the nursery. At the beginning of August, I was like, you know what? These things have not set any fruit. I don't know if I'm gonna even really get any tomatoes. I think I should be able to get one wave. And if not, I can use green tomatoes and a handful of recipes, but we are looking good. We have some fruit and I'm really excited about it. The Incas only get to be about this tall as well. They're on the more determinate side of a tomato. They're one of the shorter varieties I found, but again, they put on so much fruit. These were my top performers last year. So these are definitely getting grown again next year, and I highly suggest you putting them on your list, especially if you love a good paste tomato. Seriously though, look at all the flowers, guys, that are still popping up on all the serranos and the jalapenos. These jalapeno plants are massive this year. This is in a garden bed that is a foot tall, but that is a very large jalapeno plant. If this is in a garden bed that is a foot tall and I'm 5'6", this has to be close to 4 feet tall. This is just a classic jalapeno. All right, moving on to the back L over here, we have tomatillos. And look, we're actually starting to get tomatillos. I'm so excited about making some salsa verde. This plant is massive. One of them is definitely doing better than the other. This one gets a lot more sun than this one. As you might be able to see, it's getting morning sun, this one isn't. And this area does shade out a good amount this time of year. I wasn't sure how this area was gonna do once I replanted, but it looks like this guy is doing just fine. I did have carrots over here as well, and then I do have a few other tomato plants. These guys were a few that weren't hit at the very beginning of the year, and I have actually got a decent amount of tomatoes off of them, and they are still forming some beautiful tomatoes. They might not look that pretty anymore, but they're doing their job. I have been letting a lot of my jalapenos turn red to make sriracha and different hot sauce. I love a good red jalapeno. So a red jalapeno is just a more mature green jalapeno. They tend to be a little bit more tender. I will say they're a little bit hotter, but they have a little bit more of a citrusy flavor. I looked it up one day because I was curious. I used to do wine sales, so I love tasting notes. So a green jalapeno has more of like a grassier type of flavor on the back end, when a red one has more of a citrusy flavor, and I found that so interesting. So if you're someone who loves to cook and have fun experimenting, that is one way to have a difference with a common pepper in your garden. The real superstars of August was the loofah. I really did not think this was going to be a good loofah year. I think I had maybe 8 at the beginning of August when I showed you guys last time. I now have somewhere in the 30s. Out of nowhere, these 2 plants exploded, and I think I should be able to maybe get about half of these dry. If not, I can use the oven method, but I'm just happy to get more than 10. I was thinking I was probably going to get like max 10 this year, which would have been my worst year to date. This definitely is still not one of my best loofah years, but I'm just excited that things finally caught up a little bit, and we're just getting a little bit of abundance that was very unexpected at the end of the gardening season. I have gotten 1 dry, and I currently have another one that's getting close. This will probably be done in about a week. And then there's a few others that are lighter green compared to the darker green. So when they're in this lighter green stage, they're actually pretty easy to peel if you just cut a slit into them. If they're more in this darker green stage, you need them to be at a certain point of maturity to really be able to do the bake method. But otherwise, the bake method works really, really well. If they're like this, where they haven't grown too much, but they're still small and green, maybe a little bit smaller than that, maybe more like this size here, really good to eat like a zucchini. I have some beautiful volunteer sunflowers blooming at the moment. Most of the other stuff over here has just been kind of hit with disease. And I don't know if it's just because this area tends to get really, really, really shaded this time of year, and just the addition of it being wet, but the cuckoozy out of nowhere looks terrible. It has a really bad disease. I'll probably just toss this to the chickens. It's looking like the disease went to the cuckoozy. I thought the cuckoozy was really interesting and fun. I really enjoyed using it for a zucchini bread. It made an amazing chocolate zucchini bread. I will say, if it gets this disease versus the luffa, it might be one of those plants that might be harder for me to grow just because we typically get a lot of heat and humidity. These leaves are really velvety and thin compared to like the pumpkin or the luffa. So I'd be really curious if you've grown cuckoozy, if you've had issues with it getting disease, or if it's just kind of a fluke year for me and whatnot. Because I actually did enjoy growing this. Like I said, the cuckoozy was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed baking with it. But the plant just out of nowhere got really hit with disease, and I don't think I'm gonna get more than these 2. And even then, these 2 really aren't looking that great anymore. So please let me know your experience if you've grown them. So I can't really roll out this variety at all. This was a new one for me this year. I will probably grow it again next year, but I'm just getting really curious if you have grown it, if you have dealt with disease. Check out these beauties. All of my wild sunflowers are blooming at the moment, and I absolutely just love it. I had a volunteer here last year, and I had literally hundreds of sunflowers popping up at the beginning of spring, but they are so pretty and so fun. I love having like multiple waves of sunflowers because all of my big ones I planted are already done. I also have a ton over here that I ended up leaving. The ones right at the coop are starting to bloom, but these ones have gotten so big and so heavy that they're leaning on the fence and stuff now, but they are so pretty. See, the girls got the other volunteer from a handful of days ago. Another new variety for me this year was this hyacinth bean. So this area gets really shaded for the second half of my season, and I'm still getting blooms put on. I'm sure if this was in a little bit sunnier of a location, it would be even that much more beautiful. But I have loved this so much. So from what I know, these are not edible pods. You can see I have ones drying behind that, but They are these beautiful purple pods, just beautiful purple flowers. And I found these to be so easy to grow. I think they add such a statement to the garden. They're beautiful, they're very cottagey, and I will definitely be growing these again. Look how beautiful they look with the wild sunflowers, the purple and the yellow. I'm telling you, definitely put this on the list. My camera is doing zero justice for this plant, and I've said this all year. I wish my camera would do better justice for this plant, but it just isn't. It is so beautiful. Please put this on your grow list next year. I have loved these. Ruby Moon Hyacinth Bean, I believe is what it's called. And that's kind of the gist, guys. I did not plant anything for fall this year. By the time I really got around to it this year, I was just late, and I really have to time out my fall stuff perfectly if I really want to get crops. This backyard really shades out for the second half of the gardening season. So if I don't start my starts early enough, or if I don't get things out early enough, I have a really hard time with fall crops and getting them to produce. I want to say if you jump back to September of 2023, the whole garden is pretty much dead. And I think I already ripped out a good amount of it. 2023 was such a hot season. Yeah, it was 2023. Very hot season and dry. And then 2024 was right in the middle. And then this year has just been cool and wet. So the last 3 years honestly have been so different from the next. And it's been really interesting to see because I've shown the garden for years now. This is where we're at, guys, in September of 2025. I hope you guys are going strong going into the last little bit of gardening season. Get in your gardens and spend some extra time in them, because before you know it, the season is going to be behind us and we are going to be planning for a new one. As always, thank you guys so much for being here and walking through my garden with me. I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye.